Once upon a time, high up on a cloud bed in the sky, there lived a happy little girl named Tilly, and she had a pet firefly named Toto. One night, Tilly and Toto were lying on their cloud gazing at the stars, and then they noticed something strange. There was a big crack in the moon crystal. It looked like someone or something had thrown a big rock at it. "Ooh, I wonder what that could be," said Tilly, her eyes sparkling with wonder. Just then, a soft hooting sound interrupted them, and when they turned around, they saw a beautiful owl with shimmering silvery feathers land softly on their cloud. The owl was covered in shiny stardust, and its eyes twinkled like distant stars. "Greetings, little ones," said the owl in a deep voice that rumbled like distant thunder. "I am Noctis, the guardian of the night sky. I have come from the whispering woods far below." "Why is the moon cracked?" asked Tilly, her eyes wide with curiosity. The owl gazed at the moon for a moment before turning back to Tilly and Toto. "I know that the crystal of the moon is cracked," he said finally, "but how it happened, that is a riddle. But perhaps you too can solve it. Are you willing to help me?" Tilly and Toto looked at each other. Of course, they wanted to help the mysterious owl from the night sky, so they both shouted, "Yes." Noctis nodded his head slowly. "Very well then," he said. "We'll lead you to where the answer lies." With that, the wise old owl spread his enormous wings and soared through the clouds, with Tilly and Toto clinging tightly to his back. As they flew lower and lower, Tilly and Toto could see that they were approaching a dark and spooky-looking forest. Tall, gnarled trees reached up towards the sky, and thick vines hung like cobwebs between them. The air grew heavy and silent as they neared the ground. Soon, they landed softly in the center of the forest. "This is the Whispering Woods," said Noctis, his voice echoing eerily around them. "Here you will find the answer to your riddle. But be careful, for this place is full of sleepy magic. If you are not careful, you may fall into a deep slumber from which you may never wake." Tilly and Toto shivered as they heard these warning words. They knew that they had to be brave and careful if they wanted to solve the riddle of the broken moon and save the moon crystal. "We won't let you down, Noctis," said Tilly bravely. With that, the two friends started their journey deeper into the enchanted forest. As they walked along a narrow path, a sudden gust of wind swept through the trees, making them sway and creak ominously. The wind seemed to yawn as it passed by, ruffling Tilly's hair and making Toto's light flicker. Tilly and Toto hurried on, trying to ignore the sleepy magic that seemed to be seeping into their bones. Then they came across a clearing, and in the middle of it stood a huge ancient tree. Its branches were gnarled and twisted, and its leaves were a sickly yellow, as if it were very ill. "Oh dear," said Tilly, noticing how droopy the tree looked. Just then the tree began to shake, and a deep voice boomed, "Yoan, who disturbs my slumber?" Startled, Tilly and Toto looked around to see where the voice had come from. But before they could answer, the ground beneath their feet began to tremble, and the tree groaned again. "Yoan, so long, so long, so long." Suddenly the tree began to sway from side to side, and its branches started to close in on Tilly and Toto, like the bars of a giant cage. "We need to do something," whispered Toto to Tilly, his voice filled with panic. Tilly thought quickly. She knew that if the tree trapped them in its branches, they would never get out. So she called out in a loud voice, "Please don't hurt us, Mr. Tree. We just want to help the moon."
Ow.
The tree paused in its swaying, and a deep voice rumbled, "Help the moon? How can you possibly do that?" "We don't know yet," said Tilly, "but we're looking for this." And she pulled out the midnight map. As soon as the tree saw the map, its branches suddenly stopped moving, and its leaves rustled nervously. "Oh dear," said the tree in a shaky voice. "I believe I may have something that could help you. But it is very far away and very dangerous to get to. Are you sure you want to continue?" Tilly and Toto looked at each other. They knew that this was their only chance to help Noctis and save the moon, so they both nodded bravely. The tree rustled its leaves in appreciation and said, "Very well then, follow me." With that, the tree swayed gently and parted its branches, revealing a narrow path that led deeper into the forest. As Tilly and Toto followed the path, they could feel the sleepy magic of the forest growing stronger. Soon they found themselves in a dark and narrow tunnel. The air was thick and heavy, and it was hard to breathe. Just then, a group of sleepy fireflies floated past, and one of them yawned so widely that it almost fell to the ground. "Oh my," said Toto nervously. "It's getting harder and harder to stay awake." Tilly squeezed Toto's hand tightly. "Don't worry," she whispered. "We're almost there." Suddenly, the tunnel opened up into a large cavern, and Tilly and Toto gasped in amazement. In the middle of the cavern was a huge tree stump, and on top of it was a small wooden chest. And when Tilly and Toto approached the stump, they heard a faint scratching sound. Startled, they hid behind the tree stump as a small mouse poked its head out of the chest. "Who's there?" squeaked the mouse, his eyes wide with fear. Tilly and Toto explained that they only wanted to take what was inside the chest and then leave. The mouse looked at them suspiciously for a moment, then nodded slowly. "All right," he said finally, "but please be quick. I want to go back to sleep." "But you lie." Tilly and Toto wasted no time. Toto opened the chest and pulled out a small piece of parchment. It was covered in strange symbols and looked very old. "This must be the midnight map," said Tilly, her voice filled with excitement. Just then, the mouse yawned widely and disappeared back into the chest. Tilly and Toto hurried out of the cavern and into the forest. Now that they had the map, they could finally find the moon portal and fix the moon crystal. But as they walked, they could feel the magic of the forest growing stronger and stronger. Soon, they were so sleepy that they could barely keep their eyes open. Suddenly, Toto tripped over a tree root and fell to the ground. "Oh my," he whispered, his light flickering weakly. "I can't go on. I'm too tired." Tilly knew that if Toto fell asleep, they might never wake up, so she did something crazy. She grabbed Toto and tickled him with a leaf until he started giggling. "Stop it, Tilly," he gasped, his light growing brighter. "You're ticklish." Tilly kept tickling him until he was back to his normal, energetic self. Then they continued on, following the path that the map indicated. Finally, they reached a tall hill. At the top of it, they could see a small opening that looked like a doorway in the clouds. "This must be the moon portal," said Tilly, her voice filled with wonder. But as they approached the hill, they could feel the magic of the forest growing stronger than ever before. Tilly and Toto huddled together for warmth. "You sure we can do this, Toto?" she whispered, her voice shaking. Toto nodded slowly. "Of course we can," he said, his light flickering bravely. "We just have to stay together and be brave." With that, they started to climb the hill. As they neared the top, they could hear a faint rumbling sound. Then they saw it. The moon was rising in the sky, and the portal was starting to glow. Suddenly, a dark, misty shadow rose up from behind the rocks. "We're not alone," gasped Toto. Just then, the portal burst open, and Tilly and Toto were bathed in a bright, beautiful light. Everything went black. Once upon a time, high up in the sky, there lived a happy little girl named Tilly and her pet firefly, Toto. And one day, they met a mysterious owl named Noctis, who told them that the moon crystal was cracked. Noctis led them to the Whispering Woods, where they had to solve the riddle of the broken moon. In the forest, they met a sleepy tree and a small mouse who helped them find the midnight map. With the map, they found the moon portal, but they weren't alone. A dark shadow loomed behind the rocks. Will Tilly and Toto be able to escape the shadow's grasp? We'll find out next time.